Okay, welcome everyone to session three for our unit CHCMHS011, our last session. As you can see on the screen, we will be covering task three and four today and also cover documentation for the role play assessments like the wellbeing plan and so on. So before we start, just want to show recognition for the traditional owners of the land. So in the spirit of reconciliation, Hatta Institute of Education acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and the connection to land, sea, and community. We recognise Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as the first inhabitants of the nation and the traditional custodians of the land on which we work, live, and study. We express our gratitude for the sharing of this land, our sorrows for the personal, spiritual, and cultural cost of that sharing, and hope that we may move forward together in harmony and in the spirit of healing. We pay our respects to all First Nations people and acknowledge elders past, present, and emerging. Okay, so what we're going to do before I start is um, I just want to go over. I think last we got a few questions about documentation on how to fill out the wellbeing plan, the evaluation plan, and the client assessment template. So what I'm going to do now is run through the client description of Peter for assessment four, and then from there I'm going to talk about how the form should be filled out. Or all three forms should be filled out. Now, some of you have already done some assessments and have completed them, and you guys have done a good job. I've passed. I think every one of you that who has completed, but I think some of you just. I think yeah, I think it's worth going through this again. So you guys, next time you do fill it out again, you put in a little bit more information than you did um, with your the role plays that you guys completed or the assessments that you guys completed recently. Now, guys, I ask, can you please have your cameras on as well, if you can, just so I know you guys are all engaged and are ready to go. So, assessment for Peter, his name Peter Pham. So, Peter is 30 years old with a complex background. If you guys had I hope you guys had a chance to go through it. Although born and raised in Australia, Peter's family is originally from Vietnam. This cultural identity has influenced parts of his life, of course, but it's also an area where he currently feels quite disconnected. His relationship with his cultural heritage is something he's expressed interest in revisiting and better understanding as part of his recovery process. Now, Peter has been diagnosed, as you can see on the screen, with schizophrenia, a serious mental health condition that has resulted in several hospital visits over the years. His symptoms include hearing voices, experiencing delusions, and struggling to manage his emotions. He also experiences frequent mood swings, has trouble sleeping, and reports feelings of anxiety and also depression. This combination of mental health symptoms significantly impacts his daily functioning and quality of life. Peter also has a history of substance abuse, but it is important to note that he is now in recovery. So this is a strength, a sign of his resilience, of course, and willingness to make changes in his life. He currently lives alone in a small apartment. He is also unemployed and does not have a strong support network. He reports feeling isolated and lonely. His relationships with his family is not very good, largely because they do not understand his condition and have expressed disapproval about his use of medication. Um, this lack of family support contributes to his feeling of disconnection and low self-worth as well. Peter has very few social connections, as you would know, as you would find out while you're reading his case note and the descriptions on the scenario and the role play task instructions, sorry. In fact, the only person he identifies as a support or a friend is his neighbor, Paul. Paul is someone Peter considers as a friend and trusts, but otherwise Peter lacks community involvement or broader friendship in general. Now let's go to the second page. Now, just a question for you guys. Uh, what type of community-based programs or services could we suggest to help Peter reduce social isolation and develop stronger support networks from what I've read and from what you guys have looked into for assessment 4? What types of community-based programs or services could we suggest to help Peter reduce the current social isolation and develop stronger supporting networks? Okay, let's go with Jackie first.
Just any sort of local peer support groups to like begin to reduce the isolation, just sort of like wean him into those group settings.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Victoria.
So just to kind of help with the unemployment, there's employment services that do training and that will, help him network and like almost everything that we can do to help him will help him network with other people and get that socialization.
Yeah, excellent. Very good. Grant.
I was going to say something along the lines of his Vietnamese heritage to do with the
Mm,
cooking. That'll get him back within his cultural and spiritual connectedness and feel a sense of belonging with his own sort of people.
excellent. Very good. Thank you. Tony.
I was going to mention a bit like Victoria. I've put down a company called APM. They're actually a disability support service Australia wide that actually give a minimum of 52 weeks post employment support. Yeah, very good company. And then
Yeah.
they go long term. So
Yep.
um, they actually provide the employer with the employee.
Mm,
So yeah, team them
excellent.
up.
Yeah, awesome. Very good. Good work, guys. So yeah, all possible options. Other things could be peer support groups, things like men's shed, mental health meetups, community gardens, or even volunteering as well. But yeah, very good. Thank you. So moving on, let's look at Peter's physical health, which is in reasonable, stable condition overall, but he's concerned about his recent weight gain. So this weight gain is likely a side effect of the prescribed medication for his schizophrenia. Peter has also recently quit smoking, which is a major positive step for his health, but it may also affected his weight gain as well. He has expressed an interest in becoming more physically active and starting an exercise routine, but like many people with mental health challenges, motivation and structure maybe sometimes might be difficult to maintain without guidance and support. I think he would benefit from support around developing realistic and sustainable goals for his physical well-being, as well as encouragement to stay on track. Additionally, we should look at connecting Peter with the GP or allied health services such as an exercise physiotherapist or forgot the word, physiologist or dietitian may be useful in helping him address these goals in a safe and structured way. Now, if you were working with Peter how would you approach encouraging physical activity without embarrassing him and without overwhelming him? And what small steps or strategies might you use? Marv.
I think if you could almost combine it with the men's sheds or the men's mental health groups locally. For example, I'm involved with a group here on a Thursday night here in Penrith. We walk every Thursday night, 6.6 kilometers around the Nepean River.
Yeah.
It's very low key, it's very social. It's social, mental. It's all of those things where there's no judgment. People, we turn up at 5 o'clock down at the Nepean River. We have a coffee. We just
Hmm.
have a chat, and it's just very, very casual. There's no pressure. There's no judgment, and you actually don't realize you're involved in a mental health group. It's like just a group of guys getting together. So it's very good for peer support. But then there's other networks that kind of evolve off that which can be very, very beneficial in the long run.
Yes, great point. Thank you for that, Martin. Yes, there are certain activities that will meet the needs for um, two or more of the well-being areas, such as physical. It's even touch most of the physical stuff sometimes benefits your social well-being as well. Most of the time, most of the time, other than your one-on-one, your private walks and that. Otherwise, things like going to the gym, things like activities with men's shed and so on, will also impact positively when it comes to emotional and social well-being as well. So thank you. Deborah.
So if he mentions his weight gain to you, you could then sort of suggest to him to have a chat to his GP about maybe changing his medication if it is related to
Yeah.
that, along with the smoking, but also like encourage him that the fact that he's given up smoking is a good step forward as well. And then you can also create some like little micro goals. So I was going to go with the walking as well, even just going for, 10-minute walk every day, build it up over time.
Yeah.
Then look towards, whether you go for a walk in the park, you might find a group there that's doing, they might do yoga in the park or something, depending on where he is. So you could always encourage him to join in with those groups or go to a gym, join some small group sessions, get a personal trainer, those sorts of things.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you, Deborah. Very well said, guys. Thank you. Let's go on to now his emotional well-being. Peter is aware that he struggles to manage his emotions. He has described experiencing regular mood swings and high levels of anxiety and depression. His interest in learning coping strategies to better manage his emotional responses is very good, which is a positive sign of self-awareness and a willingness to grow. In terms of his cultural and spiritual well-being, Peter has expressed feeling of disconnection from his cultural roots, as I brought up before. His family maintains strong cultural and spiritual beliefs, but Peter has never felt closely aligned with them beliefs. Um, However, in the past month, something has shifted in his thinking. He's attended a local cultural festival, connected with a spiritual center, and has even begun exploring traditional Vietnamese cooking. These are small but meaningful steps towards reclaiming a cultural identity um, that could help in grounding him, I guess. Spirituality and culture often plays an important role in healing, identity, and social connection. Supporting Peter to explore these areas is very important. Of course, at his own pace and on his own terms. We can offer him a sense of belonging, or it may offer him a sense of belonging, purpose, and strength. Now, how can we, as support workers, create the space for clients like Peter to explore cultural identity in a way that's inclusive and empowering, especially if they've had negative or confusing experiences in the past? Tony.
If you're in an office space, say you designed, where there's an art room and whatnot, you might have a kitchen area that they can go into and actually, prepare food for themselves or, as a group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good option. Very good. Grant.
I don't I was thinking more along the lines of like a nutritionist, so that he can understand the benefits of the food that he's eating and how that can play a big part on one's mental health.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Talking to a nutritionist, telling them, educating Peter about his, because now that he's got an interest in cooking, we can incorporate all that into one thing. You can continue to learn about cooking, but also the benefits of cooking good food or healthy food as well. Deborah.
You could also encourage him by helping him to find like some online resources to do some reading about the types of foods relating to his culture as well. And, help him find some places locally that may offer like cooking classes or other groups
Yeah.
with his same culture as well.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Deborah. What do you guys think that we can, so he's got an interest in cooking, his culture, and he's unemployed. So what do you think we can motivate him to do? Or what kind of things can we look or research for him? Tony.
Looking into becoming a sous chef, as
Yeah.
in the Vietnamese or kitchen hand.
Yep.
Yep.
Excellent. Yeah. Yeah. Trying to find a Vietnamese restaurant or a Asian restaurant that will take him on even as a volunteer, even to get, give him a few shifts in the restaurant to, see if he's interested in that sort of career path. Yeah. Uh, so it says PAV on the screen. I'm not sure who that is.
That is me, Vicky.
Mickey? Yep.
Yeah, I forgot to change the name because I'm using my husband's computer.
No worries. Mickey,
Yeah,
can you put your camera? Can you open your camera?
I don't know. Wait. I'll probably I can try later, but now I don't know how to like.
Yeah. All right. I'm just asking because I think you missed the first part. So
Yes.
the questions that you answer during today's class will go towards your assessment 3 and 4.
Oh, okay.
I need the camera on as evidence.
Okay.
Uh,
Um, the
but yeah, you can share your opinion now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I kind of like miss a big part, but I for the information I just know because I know for Vietnamese they do have like a lot of like a cultural festival as well.
Yeah.
So and also in a lot of different cities they have a certain suburb which is heavily like say certain religion and nationality focused. For example, when you're talking about Vietnamese, like in Sydney, like say Cabramatta is like a very heavily Vietnamese dense like area. So
Yeah.
for that kind of like suburb, sometimes they do have a lot of festivals. So I would say that's in that regards we can engage him with some social activity when there's like some certain festivals. And also in regards to the cooking part, as far as I know, there are a lot of like cooking workshops as well. And among all the workshops, sometimes they do have certain workshop specifically like focus on like say Asian cuisines, um, even like Vietnamese special. And also I know for the what's the name? For I just just like on the tip of my tongue. Oh yeah, for TAFE, sometimes they do offer the kind of like free course for cookeries. Maybe not like specifically in Vietnamese food, but like in general, they have like free offering for the cookery class, and sometimes they even have like a free, let's say, food related workshop or class. So I think he can participate in that as well because he's unemployed. So that kind of like free workshop or free course, I would say, is very suitable for his condition.
Yes. So yeah, perfect. So he's got plenty of options, especially in the hospitality industry. There's a shortage of work, as we all know, especially in the hospitality industry. So he's not going to have any trouble in finding employment or apprenticeships or even volunteering options as well in the beginning. But yeah, very good options there. Let's go with Dashika.
I think Vicky already covered something I was thinking about. It's in the local areas where uh, the Vietnamese community would be highly dense. There may be volunteering groups or like community groups that are organized specially for the people from that cultural background, which is run by the council. So maybe refer him to some of those activities or even cooking lessons and connect through some of these support services to see whether there are any apprentice options for him to work in some of those restaurants.
Perfect. All right. I'll go with one more. Sorry guys, I'll go with Ben.
Hey mate. No, I was just gonna say, yeah, back with the community groups and stuff. Like, I'm finding especially like wearing my lanyard and people are aware that you're in support of these clients. Like they're loving it because they know these guys want second chances or a go or anything. So, like, big like word of mouth, yeah. Like, because these people will know people who they can pass on to and all that sort of thing. Because that's how I got involved with the men's shed with my client. And
Yeah,
he's like, building staff and, just stuff that he never did. So that's, yeah.
yeah. Thank you. Okay. Benjamin. All right. Cool work, guys. Let's keep going. I apologize if I'm skipping some of you guys. I've just got a lot of to cover, but I'm not, person. I'm not doing it on purpose. I'm just trying to cover all the content, so we can get these assessments marked off. So before I keep going, just a reminder for you to pass assessment 3 and 4 with me tonight. I need you guys to be interactive. I need you guys to answer questions. I need you guys to get involved during the class, or I'm writing all the names down on who's answered questions and who's making comments and sharing their opinions. So if I don't see engagement, unfortunately, you will not. I won't be sending you assessment feedback for the 2 assessments that we're covering tonight. Victoria.
So are we still doing the role plays for 3 and 4 tonight?
No, so I've made some adjustment for the assessments tonight because I was quite comfortable with some of most of you guys doing the role plays last week, um, and all the role plays are quite similar. So it's going to
Yeah,
be
cool.
almost repetitive. If
All the
we
assessment criteria is the same for all
It's
3.
all the same, yeah, yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Guys, can I just ask for you guys not to draw on the screen, please? It's just distracting. Thank you. Um, all right. What were we up to? I think we covered. Give me a second, guys. So we covered the physical.
You're up to the goals.
Yeah, we covered physical. We've covered a bit of emotional well-being. Yep. Cultural were covered. Yep. Cover cultural. Okay, excellent. All right. So when it comes to that question I asked just before, how can we, as the support worker, create a safe space for the clients like Peter to explore cultural identity in a way that is inclusive and empowering? Um, we can encourage discussion around validation. We can use cultural safe services, spiritual connection as well. Get food and music involved. In this case, food and engagement with multicultural centers also would be a very good option. So Peter is navigating complex challenges across multiple domains: mental health, physical well-being, emotional regulation, social connection, and cultural identity. But he's not without strengths, of course, like everyone else. He's actively seeking support. He has quit smoking. He's willing to try new things and is open to exploring new strategies for recovery. Now, as his support worker or his case manager in this instance, or for this assessment, your role would be to collaborate with Peter, not just providing a list of services, but really it's really about listening, helping him set his own goals and explore what well-being means to him, and support him in building meaningful and self-directed goals. So now let's move on to the documentation. Okay, the client assessment template. Now, some of you guys asked if we can cover all this. So let's bring this up. So this is the client assessment here. So obviously we start by filling out the basic information on top of the form. His name, your name as the student, obviously. The workplace would be first access. When it comes to the prep, so this section is about what you as the worker need to prepare before working with Peter. Okay. So the first question is describe the information and resources that you would need to explain the social and emotional well-being, holistic practice, and available service and programs to the client. Now, you'll write something around this. You would prepare plain language pamphlets and brochures or verbal explanations about social and emotional well-being, how recovery-oriented care works or practice works, and Peter's rights to make choices. I would also bring a list of cultural appropriate programs, exercise options, mental health, peer groups, and spiritual supports in his area. Now you're going to say, well, I haven't met the client yet, but this is you got case notes and a bit of information before you meet him, so you can get the ball rolling. And this is what we do in the client assessment template. Apologies for that. Let's get that screen back up. All right. Why is that doing that? All right. Now the second part asks what other information or people you could contact to understand Peter's well-being better. So obviously, with Peter's consent, you could contact his GP, his psychiatrist, or any previous caseworkers. You would also explore cultural community support services he may be open to. We would work together by checking in regular and adjusting the plan based on what he feels comfortable sharing. Now here, obviously, there's limited information in the scenario and in the case notes and all that. So I wouldn't, you're not going to find the numbers or the details, contact details for the GP, psychiatrist, psychologists, and other caseworkers. Just right here, that's the steps that you would take. That you will contact the GP, psychiatrist, or previous caseworkers to find out a little bit more about Peter. I'll also look into exploring cultural or community support services that he may be open to or he's had access to in the past. Section 3, which is working with the client. So section 1 is the client's details, the date, just the general information. Then we start the section 2 is the prep, and now we're looking at working with the client. Let me close this. Okay, working with the client. So the question is, Victoria.
Sorry, I've got a lot of questions tonight.
Yeah.
So I put like other resources and stuff in the preparation part because it's asked for like information resources and services available.
Yeah.
Does it matter that I put it in there and not working with the client section?
You can probably no, if you got the information in preparation for the meeting, I would have it in the preparation side of things.
Cool.
Okay, when it comes to working with the client, so the question is discuss the strategies that you will use to work collaboratively with the client to identify their strengths and to explain how these relate to the domains of well-being. So yeah, all the resources and agencies that you identify that would be a positive impact on Peter, I would have it in the prep section. Now for this section here, of the working with the client, I would use strength-based questions like what are you proud of lately, or what's something that gives you a sense of purpose? For example, Peter recently quit smoking. He wants to exercise and he's exploring his culture again. These relate to physical well-being, emotional well-being, the social well-being, and cultural well-being as well. So yeah, that's what I'll have there.
Cool. I wrote like using like empathic responses and active listening and like building rapport with
Yeah.
the client and like asking genuine, curious questions and develop that
Yeah.
relationship. Is that okay?
That's
Because
perfect. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, active listening, working collaboratively with the client. Um, yeah, I would also have strength-based questions as well, finding out about what the client is good at, or what are the recent wins for him or her, and celebrate them as well. But yeah, I will have everything else there as well, all the strategies that we would use as support workers to engage with the client. Dashika.
Sorry, Jan, sorry, you would have covered this before I took about 5 minutes to join. Do we only not do the role plays today, but we have to fill these documents and submit? Is that how it's going to work?
Yeah, so the feedback that I will provide you guys will only be for the role plays. You guys will still need to fill out all these documents as part of the assessment.
Okay.
Okay, so I will provide you, depending on your level of interaction and participation during tonight's class, I will provide you assessment feedback for role plays for part B and C for assessment 3 and 4. Just the role plays, not the paperwork.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Deborah.
Sorry, I was going to ask the exact same question, so that answered that. That's fine.
Perfect.
Just wanted to confirm.
All good. All right, let's go on to section 4, professional practice. So this section is about reflecting on your own practice and planning to work respectfully with the client. So the first question is reflect on your own values, beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors to ensure that your practice remained non-judgmental and non-discriminatory. You could say something like, I reminded myself not to assume anything about Peter's abilities or family. I stayed curious, not critical. I let Peter guide the conversation, or I plan to let Peter guide the conversation and made space for silence and thinking time, sort of thing. Or you can chuck things like I practice active listening, eye contact, body language, paraphrasing what the client is saying, celebrating, or identifying the strengths or the things that the client's good at. I said paraphrasing, summarizing what the client has said. Also, again, summarizing is very important, as it shows the client that that we are listening to what they are saying, and also validation. Validation is very important as well. So I would have that there as well. The next part is, now let's look at how we plan for emotional challenges and promote resilience. So we have to look at developing strategies and contingency plans to address emotional challenges and promote resilience and emotional well-being. So you could write, the client and I would write a plan that includes using his things like breathing techniques or breathing exercises, having contacts there to call his support worker, or visiting the spiritual center when he feels overwhelmed as a strategy. He could also do things like journaling or cooking to stay grounded. Would list these as part of his contingency, or in the contingency section. And the final part is about respecting Peter's boundaries. So outline what will be done to ensure that the person's choice, parameters and boundaries regarding the topics to be discussed are clarified and respected. Now here, you could write something like, in our first interaction or in our first meeting, I will explain what we can talk about and ask Peter if there are any things or any topics he doesn't want to discuss. I would also check in on a regular basis to make sure he's still comfortable during the initial meeting, and I would obviously never push him to share anything if he doesn't want to share. All right. Now that's how I would complete the client assessment template. I hope that helps, guys. The key things here to remember are always use a person-centered approach. Remember, it's all about the client. It's not about you. It's about the client and what we can do to support the client in having the best possible session. Obviously, remember, we have to include the 4 well-being domains, like we've been discussing for this unit. So the physical, the emotional, social, cultural, and spiritual. And also align your answers with the first access policies as well, especially privacy and consent. Okay. Deborah.
Sorry, there's another page for that wellbeing. Oh, is there another page? Oh no, sorry, I've got the wrong one. Sorry, ignore me.
You're all
Sorry.
right.
I jumped ahead.
All good. All right, so now let's go on. Actually, wait up. Let's go back. What's going on here?
Hi, Ryan. Sorry, my hand gestures are not working in the screen.
Is that you, Adia?
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, my hand gestures are not working on the laptop. I think something is wrong.
Yep.
So I have a question for the template. There's a particular box called assessment task. So what should I write in that box? In the client assessment template.
Client assessment. Let me go back.
Sorry,
Yeah, okay. It's fine.
I've been trying to get your attention, but I failed.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, that's all right. So which part did you say?
It's assessment task. What
Is
should
it
I write in that box? Yeah.
on the screen?
Yeah.
Assessment task.
Mm.
Oh, so just the so for Jane, it's task 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So you
just
just
task.
task 4, part A, I think this one is.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it'll be the unit and the task number
Yeah.
for this particular
Oh,
role.
thank you. Thank you, Martin. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right, let's go on now to the wellbeing support plan template. All right, again, start by filling out the basic information at the top of the form: name, age, gender. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, 1 second, guys. Okay. Client's 30, diagnosed with schizophrenia, first access. Okay. All right, so let's start with the client detail at the top of the form. Again, Peter, Nguyen, age 30, male. Um, all right, now the assessment section. So this section is about Peter's current level of social inclusion and connection. Obviously, you have to read the case and think about his isolation and support system. Now, a lot of learners do this all before the role play, but I find that, doing the role play or doing, you know, these sort of assessments that we're doing today and then doing the wellbeing plan is probably better. But if you've already done it and you've passed, well, that's good for you. But to get most out of these assessments, I would do this after the role play or the role play activity. So we've got to provide information on the level of social inclusion, exclusion, or isolation of the client. We have to identify the person's current level of involvement in socially based activities and their desire to increase participation in any of these areas and map the person's social network in I guess in a diagram. So including their care network, their community participation and others that are providing the person with the support. Okay. So here you could write something like Peter currently experiences significant social isolation. He has no close friends or family involved in his current care and lives alone. He identifies his neighbor Paul as a supportive presence, but has minimal community involvement. Recently, Peter has shown interest in attending cultural events and connecting with local spiritual center. He wants to meet others with similar experiences. His current care network includes his GP and a community mental health service, of course, with consent. Um, Yasmin?
Okay, so I haven't had much contribution, but I have been listening.
Yep.
But with this one, it sounds like, okay, so after doing the role play or listening and reading all the information, basically putting it in point form, collaborating all of it, encouragement of social settings, whether it's a festival or a cooking class or volunteering, starting with the physical activity, what's going to be good for them, and just go bang, bang, bang in point form.
Yeah. That
Sounds
will go to the goals. So
okay.
the assessments is what we've identified as the areas that we need to focus on, or what the areas that Peter needs to focus on. So this is just a brief snapshot of who the client is, and then what you're talking about is goals, and which are very good goals as well. Okay, and also we'll go down as the strategies as well. So the goals, we'll go through the goals now. So These must be linked to the four domains. Okay, very important. You've got to mention the physical, emotional, social, and cultural. I need a goal for each one. All right. Now, when it comes to the physical, you can do a goal around, something small like begin a gentle exercise routine and maintain good physical health after quitting smoking as a general goal, right? And then we'll look at the emotional side of things. A goal could be learn a new coping strategy to manage mood swings, voices, and anxiety as a general goal. When it comes to social, we could look at things like rebuilding confidence through a peer support group or safe community activity. And cultural, like you guys have mentioned, reconnect with his Vietnamese culture through cooking and attending a local cultural center. Jackie.
For like when we answer this one, for example, say we did do the role play or, it was
Yeah.
a client, in this section, would you put like things that you both agreed on, or are we like sort of not in real life, but would you do this before things like as you would
So
suggest?
this well-being plan is what you
Agree
discuss
on?
with the client.
Yeah. So,
So during the session with the client, you talk about, and you guys work out goals for each area,
yeah.
and then you confirm they're the goals that they're going to focus on for a time frame, and that will
Mhm.
be placed into this well-being plan.
For the assessment, like, because we're not doing the actual role play, would we put in what we talk about in class in that section, or what
Yeah,
we
just fill it out as if. So yeah, good question. So just fill it out as if you've had a session with the client and you guys have come agreed that
yeah.
these are the goals that you guys collaborated together, and these are the goals that Peter will aim to achieve.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Remember, guys, the most important thing is to have a goal for 4 areas. This is not strategies. This is a general goal. Okay. Now we come to the strategies. All right. And the
Yeah, and I
strategy.
think, Chine, for Jackie's question, the in the task, I think there's a guide, like a not a guide, it's like role play. It says role play B and C. There are some pointers there, so I think that would help. Because it has a
Yes,
bit more details, I think.
correct. Thank you, Dashika. Yeah, great point. Jackie, yeah. So you would know Jackie as well. Going through the role play task gives you a lot of the information there on how the role play should go anyway. So we'll have a lot of you can extract a lot of the goals and strategies from there as well.
Yeah, I was just making sure that when I fill it in, it's
Yeah.
still based on if we did the role play or what we all decide to talk about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So just base it on as if we're doing the role play session, this session with the client.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. All right.
Ashika.
The strategy section. So this is about strategies that will help Peter work towards them goals that we set. So we're breaking them goals into steps, pretty much. That's what the strategies are. We've got to be specific and include any contingency plans. Now, I've read, not you guys, but I've read learners, other students who write strategies like, you know, very much the same as the goal. It's got to be related to the goal, but it's got to break the goal down into achievable steps. Now, developing strategies to promote community participation and connection to extend depth or of for the person's social network includes any health assessments or medication based on person's needs. We've got to develop strategies and a contingency plan to address emotional challenges and promote resilience and emotional well-being. So you could write something like as a strategy. I think Martin and someone else mentioned the men's walking group. So link Peter with a men's walking group or a gentle fitness class to support physical goals. Another strategy could be continue medication management and encourage regular check-ins with his GP. I would make that even more specific, even say every fortnight, have a check-in with the GP. Refer Peter to a peer support group for people with lived experience of schizophrenia as a strategy. So strategy would be connect with the group around that area. And another one would be explore Vietnamese community centers and cooking workshops together with the social worker. Marta.
Just on those strategies, Kayam, would one be to possibly look into some volunteering work as a kind of a vehicle to get them back into the workplace?
Yeah, definitely. Volunteering would be a strategy for whichever goal you set. So one of the goals could be you work towards employment in, hospitality or cooking, and that could be the strategy. What you just suggested now, yeah.
Sure, okay.
Tasma.
Hey, so just touching on the strategies, I think when I was looking at the template, I was really trying to go back to, I guess, like a policy or procedure kind of, I don't know how to word it, but
Yeah. So you're
I
looking.
was trying to link it to some kind of formal information in terms of strategies. So is it more, it's not really I don't want to say not a formal thing, but there's nothing that actually guides these strategies. Is that right? Because I think I was thinking too far deep into it, thinking that I was
Which
trying to
is good.
follow.
Yeah, which is good. Yeah, we are. Look, everything we do is guided by policy and procedure and
Yeah.
legislation.
Yeah.
You don't have to mention that in the strategies. The
Okay.
strategies, just look at strategies as breaking down goals into smaller achievable steps for
Okay.
clients.
Yeah.
If you tell, for example, if you tell your son that, or you tell your kids that you have to complete your morning routine, or you got to and they go, what do you mean by that? Oh, well, you got to get up and do your bed, brush your teeth, dress up, have your breakfast, get your school bag ready. That they're the strategies for that big that goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Breaking that
Yeah.
down into achievable steps for the client.
Mhm.
Because what you'll find with clients is, especially people who have mental health struggles, is they find it hard in comprehending certain goals, and sometimes having a guide or achievable steps or strategies for them to look at and see makes it a lot easier for them to accomplish their goals.
Mhm.
Okay.
I guess it makes it less daunting as well. Some
Yeah.
of those
So
big
if they
things
see this
might
this
seem a bit
goal saying that I have to improve, I want to improve my overall physical health as a goal, and then once they think about it, they're like, well, how am I going to do that? How am I actually going to do that? Just walking, and then you'll have some goals there, like going to a men's group or gentle fitness class to support physical goals. Or you could, if they agree, you can say, okay, I weigh at the moment this much weight, and I want to get down to this many kilos or whatever to make it more specific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Okay, let's go on now to the evaluation. I think is the last one. Okay, good. Okay, guys. Evaluation, where is it? There it is. All right, let's go to evaluation. Where is it? All right, guys. Also, make sure you fill out all the sections, even the bottom parts here. Just, you can just here put in italic and write the first letter and then the last name. just so it looks realistic, please. Again, so this is after we have the second visit with the client. So here we've got to outline cultural improvements and new directions or strategies that are required to be put into practice. Research appropriate specialist expertise that may be required according to person's need. Evaluate the effectiveness of work and service provisions. Identify how you will act on feedback from the person receiving service, and reflect on your own practice and use learning to identify strategies and plan for improvement practice. So if you look at the role play for part C, this is pretty much what it is. So we're looking at we're speaking to the client about their current situation where, celebrating their achievements, what they've done well, and we're also using that session to find out if there's any areas that they need to improve on, or they've identified that they want help in, and then we provide further strategies around them for them new challenges. If they find certain goals too easy, or they want to make some changes to the current strategies and goals, this is where we make the changes, and that's where we put the information down during the evaluation. We also ask them questions about how effective the certain services are, how much benefit have they seen from, reconnecting with their culture, with their family, doing volunteer work, meeting up with the men's shed, or, the physical activity groups, and so on. And then obviously there's a part of that role play where we speak about, ask for feedback. How did you like my service? Is there anything else I could have done to make this a lot easier for you? And then you discuss that here as well. And then for the last part, we're reflecting on our own practice. Try to identify something that you did well, and also identify something that you see that you need improvement in, and then have, at least one strategy around on how you will improve that in future. One that I used last week and other role plays that I've done during the week is there was one about, what was the one I was using? Around the first access not having a reminder service for the sessions. So that was the feedback that was given by the client, and that was, one area of improvement that the service could make. Yasmin?
Okay, so just for my understanding, is it's basically a review of what's going on and how they're progressing, and then if there's anything, yeah, like they're enjoying, continue with that, and or maybe changes that need to be made, and it's a discussion surrounding that.
Yep.
Okay,
Essentially,
cool.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
understanding.
pretty much. And
I
yeah,
worry
so
sometimes it's like,
yeah,
is it right? Is it wrong? What's going on? Thank you.
yeah. So we're just summarizing everything that the client's done till now. Um, New strategies that we're going to implement, then the new challenges that they are facing, and also a little bit about yourself and the service, about, these are the areas of improvement that we've identified with the help of the client, and these are and this is what I've identified, and these are some strategies that we can implement in future to make it better with our other clients. Martin?
Sorry, I had my microphone off. I think Yasmin has just answered the question there for me. But yeah, exactly that. If he was having any triggers to some of the the appointments or the things that we've suggested, then we need to adapt to those changes and change them up however it would make it any better. Is that something
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. And there was just one other thing, Ken, there on the case notes for Peter here. The very bottom it says family therapy will be considered to address any potential cultural barriers to treatment and to involve his family in his care. So would that involve something like educating the family on schizophrenia and mental health, that kind of thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
perfect. Yeah, you can have that as they can have that one as one of the goals as well. Actually, that's a really good goal, Martin. Yeah, excellent. All right. Okay, let's now go on. Oh, Daniel, sorry.
Yeah, just in terms of asking the client about feedback about how we're doing, would it be like in the case of this of assessment, we could just simulate a response like them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So for assessment 3 and 4, just simulate the response. Yeah. So Dan, while I got you here, I'm going to ask you a question, if you
Yeah.
don't mind. So so we're talking about Peter here, so assessment 4. So what kind of trauma-informed communication strategies would you use to build trust with Peter in your first meeting, when you first meet the client?
I don't know actually.
So when you first meet for any client, so let's just say you got a client who's a little bit reluctant of coming for the first session, and you're the support worker, and they've got some mental health concerns. What kind of things would you look at in terms of strategies to build things like trust and rapport with him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So outlining to the client that that the confidentiality and that and as well as care for their interests.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. So explain to them about, this is all confidential and private. Everything that you tell me, it will stay in this room. Of course, if it's not a risk to you or other people. And obviously, yeah, explaining the scope of your role as well. What you can do in the perimeters of your role description. You're here to identify areas that they need help in together, working in collaboration with the client, help them come up with some goals and hopefully make some referrals and connect them with relevant services for them to connect with to hopefully help them in their rehabilitation process. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Excellent. What about, let's go with Michelle.
I was just going to say things like including like letting them know we're going to be taking notes and that and what the notes would be about so they don't sit there getting all paranoid thinking, what's this person writing about me?
Yeah.
So just sort of saying, I'm just going to be making notes so we can
Excellent.
look back on it and things like that.
Yeah.
And just
Yes.
try to make them feel safe and things like that.
Yes. Very good. Very good place to start is because you're going to be doing a lot of scribing or writing,
Yeah.
and the eye contact's going to be limited. It's a good time to explain to them, look, I'm gonna, don't mind me writing. I'm just trying to write down as much information as I can so we can have the best possible plan or,
Yeah, like we were saying in the role play
strategies.
last
Yeah,
week, sort of
excellent.
thing that
Yeah,
can make it better.
yeah. And a lot of clients you'll see, a big majority of them will probably open up more while you're writing and you're not giving that eye contact to them as well. They'll feel a lot more comfortable during that space. I find anyway, when I'm working with the kids that I work with or clients, if I got him down and I'm writing it down and I'm nodding, he's thinking, oh, this guy's, he's writing everything I'm saying. It looks like he's trying to help me, sort of thing. Yeah. So very good. Let's go with Clementine. Clementine.
Yes, yes, I wanted to comment on establishing rapport.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would also use active listening,
Yep.
so that the client can have confidence in me. I will use like trying to clarify what I'm saying, asking whether the client has understood what I'm trying to put across, paraphrasing, and just making sure that I reassure the client that all the information that is being discussed here, it will remain between the two of us and for the purpose of his wellness.
Excellent. Very good. Yep, you pretty much named every single one. Very good, Clementine. Thank you so much. They're the principles that you need to always have in the back of your mind when you first meet a client, especially someone who's struggling. Is things like active listening, body language, eye contact, paraphrasing, summarizing. It's like going to the gym. Once you go and you do each exercise or you learn a new exercise, it's just about practice and how many times you repeat that. And eventually it's just going to be muscle memory. You're just going to know how to do it. And that's how it is with our interactions or our sessions with our clients as well. The more we practice, the more we do what we're talking about or try to perform the strategies that we're talking about now, the more it's just going to become habit later on, like with all things in life. I'll go with Amber Lee, and then we'll move on.
So as part of like that first initial connection with the client is obviously being really validating and listening, and all of those ones. But with something that we would have to be really cautious of, being that this client is diagnosed with schizophrenia, would be the symptoms of that and being cautious of any kind of hyper awareness or the delusions. So I think that making sure that you're kind of well educated or aware of that beforehand. But I had a question, as part of strategies. Would part of that be referring them to a clinical psychologist or a psychiatrist? It does say that they've been hospitalized,
Yep.
but not anything about like a regular practitioner for mental health. Would that be
Yeah,
something
of
to
course.
have in there? Yeah, awesome.
Of course, yeah, definitely.
Another thing I spotted that would be something to flag in part C, is that he's still feeling lonely and isolated, and then also struggling with anxiety in his sleep. So those would probably be as part of this evaluation, as you'd say, these are all the good things, but also he's still finding that he's feeling lonely and isolated, and maybe flagging the sleep issues with his GP.
Yep.
Awesome.
Perfect. Good work. All right, let's move on. Tasma, keep your hand up because I'm going to ask you the next question. So Peter struggles with mood swings, anxiety, and depression. What emotional well-being strategies would you suggest to help him manage these symptoms?
Sorry, was that directed at me?
Yeah.
Can you ask the question again? Sorry.
All good. So this is about his the emotional support that we can provide him. So
Yeah.
Peter is struggling with things like mood swings, anxiety, and depression. So what emotional well-being strategies would come to mind, or would you suggest to help him manage these symptoms?
I think a big thing would be trying to identify his triggers. So what brings on those mood swings or anxiety or depression, if there is any big ones.
Yeah.
Possibly also, I know it says that in his case notes that they will be looking into medication
Yeah.
management and stuff, but that would be a big thing as well because
Perfect.
if he is struggling really bad, then maybe what
Mhm.
he is doing at the moment isn't working for him.
Yeah. Yeah. Medication might be reviewed.
Adjusted, yeah.
Yeah. So very good. Excellent. So there's a lot of things that we can do here around his emotional stuff. So um, the first thing is, yeah, GP. You would suggest that maybe going to the GP and speaking about medication dosage. Is it the right medication? Sometimes, the medication might be for the condition they have, but sometimes it might not work for the individual. They might need to try something else. So, when you're in a support work position or a caseworker position, you're going to have you're going to meet a lot of doctors and you're going to meet a lot of specialists who specialize in certain mental health conditions. So, for example, I know very good child doctors and even, just general GPs who specialize with things like OCD, anxiety, schizophrenia, depression, and all that sort of stuff. And they know um, the right medication to give to certain clients based on weight, based on sometimes ethnicity, just looking at statistics, based on gender, based on all these other things. So they specialize in that field. And then I've got, I, I know psychologists that I would refer certain clients when it comes to things like intrusive thoughts or OCD or schizophrenia or other mental health conditions. And I know certain psychologists who specialize in them certain areas, and I would refer to them psychologists. I wouldn't just say you have to go to a psychologist. I would, talk about, "Oh, I know this psychologist that specializes in that certain area. I think you should see this person because they know what you're going through," sort of thing. But you'll get that as you gain experience in the role, in whichever role you get into as a support worker or a case manager or a case worker. Um, let's go with who have I not put down here yet? Darcy.
Beautiful, thank you. I had some things written down like recommending journaling
Yeah.
or some meditation and listening to some type of music or even some art or drawing, the anxiety coloring books,
Yeah. Perfect.
even a gentle physical routine.
Yes. Very good. Darcy, what was your full name again?
Darcy Lee Caserta.
Darcy Lee. All right. Can you just share that disclaimer that you had last week for me, please?
Let me just get it up for you.
That was awesome, that disclaimer that you did last week, Darcy Lee.
So this is the disclaimer that Darcy used during the role plays last week. I just want you guys to listen, and this is how you should start off your sessions, especially during our role play assessments as well, just to help out with building that rapport, the initial rapport and trust with the client.
So I've got good morning. This was based on Mary. So I had good morning, Mary. How are you today? She may respond with not too bad. How are you? I'd say that's good to hear. I'm well, thank you. My name's Maria. I'm a case manager here at First Access. Thank you for meeting with me today. I just wanted to go over a couple of things with you quickly. You'll notice that I'm taking some notes throughout our session, and this is just so that we can look back on them together so that we can monitor your growth and how far you've come. And these notes will stay a bit between yourself and I completely. Also, our sessions are completely private and confidential. Whatever is said stays between you and myself unless I think you're at harm to yourself or others. Then that will need to be recorded, or in the case of referrals, your information will be passed on to the appropriate avenues, but this is always discussed with you first.
Excellent.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah, you explain your role as the support worker. You explain to them, around the perimeters around privacy and confidentiality. You're pretty much giving the client confidence that you know what you're doing, pretty much. That's why the disclaimer is very important in the beginning. So yeah, well done. All right,
Thank
let's
you very much.
keep going. So I'm just gonna now pick out whoever got their camera on. All right, I'm just gonna pick names and ask you questions. Now I'm gonna go with Edward. Edward, what would you, let's look at the physical health. So Peter has gained weight due to medication, but he is interested in improving his health. How would you support his goal in starting an exercise routine? How would you explore that with him?
Well, by the way, please correct me if I get anything wrong because I've been barely able to see the words on the actual thing.
That's all right. Yeah,
And
I'll help you.
yeah, I was just gonna say, I think one of the best things that it can possibly do is if he has any relationships with people like friendships or family and stuff like that, he can possibly ask them to help him get into some type of routine, if that makes sense, like to get him to to get him to be able to be motivated by them showing him, and it doesn't have to be anything major or anything too overwhelming. It can just be small workouts that they do, or a little bit of a pep, uh, pep talk, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So then it can motivate him into getting into the mindset of wanting to do that exercise rather than just saying you don't look good or you are fat and you need to get lose weight. Instead, they can motivate him in a much more positive and friendlier manner, especially since the factor of him having these conditions and having someone with a close relationship to him being able to motivate him in a healthier way could
Excellent.
have a healthy impact on not only his physical well-being because of him doing exercise, but also his mental well-being, knowing that there's someone there that's willing to um, be patient with him and build him up to the point that he needs to get to.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. All right, let's go on to social connection. I'll ask Arya the next question. So yeah, Peter is experiencing loneliness and has limited social contact. What practical steps could be taken to help him feel more socially connected while respecting his wishes? So this is about what goals or strategies would you promote to help him around social connection?
Um, so so maybe I'll suggest him to, you know, going back to his roots, like interacting with a Vietnamese community, or maybe like even I can suggest him a Vietnamese psychologist so that he can talk to his in his own language. um, Probably that would be one thing. Another thing would be, getting back to his friend who is also his neighbor. I don't remember his name exactly. So maybe getting in touch with him so that he'll be surrounded with one person with whom he is very close to. That's one thing I can suggest to him. Yeah.
Excellent. Very good. All right, let's go on to symptom management and referrals. Sorry. Peter is experiencing active schizophrenia symptoms, including voices and delusions. What services, referrals, or coping strategies would you recommend? Amberly touched on this before. Anyone else want to have a go? Mark.
Sorry, I have my microphone off. I believe this is where, as far as treatments and that, possibly CBT treatment.
Excellent.
Would be good. Obviously working with a psychologist and things like that. But yeah, I think the big one would be that CBT treatment, cognitive behavioral treatment, would be a good thing to do. Maybe starting off, obviously you'd have your first referral appointment, and then see how you go, and probably do it weekly or fortnightly or whatever is needed.
Excellent. Perfect. All right, Michelle, let me ask you the next one. Try to give me three strengths Peter brings to his recovery, and give me two short-term. Actually, just give me two general goals that align with those strengths.
I would it be something along the lines of like he's interested in the cooking, so he's actually and he's there, so maybe things like you know, they've got work for the doll and stuff like that. So find a place that he could go and do some volunteer work to do the cooking and get some basic steps in how to just do kitchen preparation or something, maybe not specifically in Vietnamese, but just in general. Um, the other strengths that he has is that he's willing to try and work on his weight loss. So just to do things like whether it be, as you've mentioned before, catch up and go for a walk in the park, or maybe we could get like a small grant or something to go to a local gym where he could get a personal trainer there that would be subsidized or something, just to look at trying to get a bit of a routine and then go on his own from there.
Mhm.
And if we sort of aimed, for him to go at least once a week in the beginning, then maybe twice a week, and just sort of build it up as it goes along.
Yep.
Is that the answer to, do you know anything else for that?
Perfect. No, that was good. Excellent. Can anyone think of any other strengths? Tasma or Dashika?
Oh, sorry. I was just going to touch base on the cooking as well, because obviously the cooking being a strength, maybe he could look into, or we could look into with him doing Vietnamese cooking, because that also helps to connect him to back to his culture through something that he enjoys, if that makes sense. So he might be more enticed to actually want to connect with his culture in a way that he is comfortable with and enjoys.
Perfect. Yeah, very good. Dashika?
I wanted to highlight, being schizophrenic, I think with the episodes and being hospitalized quite regularly, he still shows a lot of perseverance, and he's engaged, wants to make things better, and he's talking to the mental health worker. So I just think it's good to highlight that as a huge positive, that he can take comfort in, that things can get better if he continues this path, because he has in the past shown his willingness to try, which is, I think, is half of the battle.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to highlight that throughout his wellness plan.
Excellent. Yeah. Something that you just mentioned about identifying his resilience or his bravery or his motivation around, the struggle he had in going to the hospital several times, and, him still surviving all these experiences is something that a lot of experienced caseworkers and some counselors can't even identify today. So to have that sort of insight, Dashik, is it's very rare to have. So well done. To see, the goodness in a bad situation is very hard for a lot of people to identify. So well done. And that's what a good caseworker does, or a support worker does. They can look outside the box or outside the square and see things that a lot of other people don't see, or don't look to see, or they don't want to identify, because they're just too narrow-minded, and they're just focusing on, all right, you got a flu, you got to go to the doctor. You got a broken leg, you got to go to the doctor. You feel depressed, you got to take medication. You went to the hospital, you know you went to the hospital. They don't look at the positives from each situation, which is something I recommend for all of you guys to do, is to look at the positives for each experience the client shares with you. Sometimes obviously there's not going to be any positives, like but try to find something. Yeah, so well done. All right, let's go on now. Tony, stay on. Keep your hand up, Tony. Let's go to consent and confidentiality. So, what steps must you take to ensure Peter's privacy is protected?
Me?
Yeah, as a support worker, what would you do?
Firstly, let him know of his rights, like his privacy and confidentiality, my duty of care, for instance. Also, just, I don't know. Oh, sorry, I had scrolled on my page.
That's all right. Yeah, you're doing right. You're on the right page.
Yeah. So yeah, just also ask for written consent if you're collecting information, and for any referrals, if made, they both have to be collected in written form, and let them know of the collecting and sharing policy as well.
Yeah.
As well as your things. So yeah, make it
Excellent.
clear and they agree.
That's it. Yeah. That's just pretty much explain perimeters around privacy and confidentiality. Explain to them when you are obliged under the legislation in sharing that information, and obviously getting the client to sign that initial consent and collect and share information form as well, so you can make them referrals and share the relevant information to the GPs and so on. Excellent. All right. Mickey, let's look at the feedback side of things. So, which is very important and probably the part where a lot of people have difficulty in. Now, if you ask the client in the end for feedback on how they thought the sessions went and how they thought, they think that you could improve in certain areas, and they share to you that, Mickey, I think our initial meet and greet wasn't that good. I think, you didn't make me feel as welcoming as I wanted to feel in the beginning. But as we went in the session, I got to know you and I felt very comfortable. That was their feedback. How would you respond to that feedback?
Firstly, I'll be very like grateful for the feedback give to me, and what I'll do, I will try to validate how he feels. And I will start saying that, no matter what happens, there's always a like room to improve. And also, I'm happy that along the way you get comfortable with me, and I will take the feedback as a like reflect process, which I can look at after the session. And also I will ask him like, at the beginning, as you said, like he doesn't feel very comfortable. I don't make him feel welcoming, but through the way he's getting comfortable with me. So I will ask him like, specifically like, what did I do to make you feel this is such a big change with your feelings, so that I can focus on like the way to make him feel comfortable and trying to avoid, maybe put him in a very negative mood again. But like in order to answer your question, firstly, I will do is to validate his feelings. Second, to show the gratitude of the feedback and accept it happily. So, and the last is trying to have a good understanding is what specifically I have done to make him, had a like change like his feelings from like not welcoming to get comfortable, and then put that in notes and do after session, like I said, do the self-reflection so that I can perform better when the second session, when I started with him.
Excellent. Very well said. All right, let's go on to assessment 3, Jane. Now, I'm just going to explain a little bit about the client. So listen up, guys, if you haven't read up on the client. Again, if you want to pass this adjusted assessment that I'm running at the moment, I need you guys to contribute and I need your cameras on while you do, okay? So I've got a lot of names down. So if you guys are putting your hands up and I'm ignoring you guys, don't worry. I've got most of you guys down already. So just don't stress. I'm not gonna. If you've got your hands up, I will get you guys to answer if I don't think you've you know haven't quite answered enough questions. All right. So don't stress too much. Um. So Jane. All right. So this is assessment 3. So Jane is 38 years old. 38-year-old woman who has recently experienced a life-changing event. She was involved in a serious car accident that resulted in a spinal cord injury, leaving her paraplegic. As a result, she now requires the use of a wheelchair for mobility. Before the accident, she led a very active and fulfilling life. So imagine what kind of situation she will be in now, emotionally, especially. Um, she enjoyed things like hiking, camping, and spending time with family and friends. She was outgoing, full of energy, and a successful business owner. She also had a supportive partner and a wide social circle. So that answers your question, Tony, that you had before. So she had a supportive partner. But since the accident, her world has obviously changed very dramatically. She now struggles with her feelings of things like isolation, grief for her old lifestyle, and a deep sense of uncertainty about her future. So, what type of emotional challenges might someone like Jane face after traumatic physical injury? And how can we as support workers, support her to start building trust in the first meeting? So imagine, put yourself in that situation of a client, Jane, coming to you paraplegic, in a very bad spot, emotionally, physically, socially. What would we do to build that initial support? Let's go with Adrian.
Yeah, just letting you know I'm here. I think it's pretty traumatic. She need a sense of belonging, that she still belongs. Yeah, because it's a pretty life-changing experience. So yeah.
And how would you do that?
Just encouragement, empathy, sympathy, even all the good stuff there.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. All right. What about Grant? What would you do?
Obviously, I'd acknowledge the severity of it, but I'd also reassure her that she's not the only one that's gone through that. And I would try and find similar groups of disabled people or people that are in a similar situation to be able to give their experiences and encouragement to her as well, so that she doesn't feel so alone.
Excellent. Very good. So you're already thinking about what you can do, what you can offer as strategies and um, goals for her to help her with the situation, which is really good. Yeah, that's what we want from support workers or case workers is getting that brain ticking as soon as you meet the client, or even before you meet the client, is reading up on their background, on their case notes, gathering as much information you possibly can, so you can have a bit of a picture about who the client is and what they need and what require. And yeah, that's really good. What about Daniel?
Yeah, I think validation of just the seriousness of her situation and empathizing with her.
Excellent.
In that way, and recognition that it has to be taken very seriously, and she probably have a lot of challenges, and that you have willingness to work with her addressing these.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah. Validation is a very important part of this, especially with clients who present such serious conditions. Especially for someone who's been very active, physically active and fit for majority of their life, and now being paraplegic. Validation is very important as well. Yeah. All right, Edward.
This isn't 100% sure thing, and it could really depend on how she reacts towards it. But you could do something, and this seems pretty major, but just judging from her character and what she seemed like before the incident, you could try and motivate her into giving public speeches, if that makes sense. Like, you know, those people that give seminars about talking about how their life got severely changed, or how something in their life contributed to this or this happening, and it accelerated them to this specific point, or it made them have a more introspective view on the world, and and try and motivate her into giving those types of speeches to people who have gone through similar incidents, because it not only validates how she feels and how she is, but it also reminds other people that they aren't alone with this specific issue, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Looking at her background and that I could see that happening one day, but I think with
Yeah.
The initial meet and greet, the first session you have, I think,
Oh, yeah, of course. That's what, yeah, I forgot to add that. I was going to say probably not at the start, but later on.
yeah,
I thought
but
that'd be
yeah,
a good idea.
that seems like a good long-term goal for her to
Yeah.
strive for. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe probably after the second or third session, once she gets a few goals, them smaller goals achieved.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's again very good. You're thinking about the bigger picture, thinking down the line, which is what we want. But
Yeah.
it's probably something you wouldn't mention straight away. Just have something,
Yeah.
write down a note somewhere and have it in the back burner
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
her later on. But yeah, really, really good. Excellent. All right, let me go with Ben and then we'll move on.
I was just gonna say, like right from the start, make sure you have like no eye contact towards her wheelchair or anything, just so she doesn't feel like she's, like real, especially because, obviously their anxiety levels are going to be pretty high. They're new to all this, but once there's some sort of comfort, bring up some sort of conversations about like, I don't know, like the Wheelaroos or something, and how talented they are, and like what they've been through, and yeah, all that sort of stuff.
Excellent. Yeah, you don't want to focus too much on her.
I know. How do you
Wheelchair.
stay?
Yeah, you don't want to focus too much on her physical current
Disability.
physical situation,
Yeah.
her disability.
Yeah.
Obviously, we want to help her as much as we can, but yeah,
Yeah.
with the initial meet and greet, exactly right. We want to celebrate and validate, and the strengths
And
as
can
well.
we see some sort of rehabilitation plan, like, getting her out, like, what are they like in the pools or something, like get them sort of, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So That's right. Yeah, we'll obviously touch into the physical well-being side of things as well.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Very good. All right, let's keep going, guys. All right, so we went through the background. Let's now go through this. Okay, now, okay. So despite these challenges, Jane shows incredible resilience and motivation. So during her initial session, she expressed a strong desire. So this is going off the role play instructions, of course, and the other notes. So during her initial intake, she expressed a strong desire to regain her independence and autonomy. She is eager to reconnect with people and build new relationships, especially with others who've been through similar experiences. Jane has shown interest in exploring adaptive sports and recreational activities tailored to her new physical capacity. She also mentioned that she's open to counseling or other therapies to support her emotional well-being. This is a really positive sign, of course. Um, it tells us that she's ready to engage and explore new coping strategies. Our role as support workers or practitioners or whatever you want to call yourself is to walk beside the client, in this case Jane, and not in front of her. We don't want to dictate terms, like I've said a few times through our classes, allowing her to lead her own journey of recovery while providing supportive options and encouragement along the way. So Jane is, as you can see from what I've read, is motivated to regain her own independence. So what kind of collaborative goals could we set with her that focus on physical, social, emotional well-being? You don't have to give me one for each one, just whatever comes to mind. So she's motivated to regain her own independence. What kind of collaborative goals could we set with her that focus on these areas? Let me go with Yasmin.
Oh, I don't know if I've got a good answer or not, but I was just thinking, I guess what was said in the beginning, validation and belonging are very powerful. Connecting with the motivating an individual, because when you feel like you belong, I know I feel very motivated and I want to do stuff. And I guess what's another thing, asking how things are in the home is, would they need any home modifications, mobility aids,
Yeah.
support at home is always a big deal if they're comfortable in sharing that, obviously. And yeah, if they want to, anytime they need to talk, to keep coming back and sharing whatever's bothering them. But this individual sounds very motivated. Anyway, obviously it's a massive life change.
Yeah.
But slowly work into it. So yeah.
Yeah, so this is very good. So this is why this unit's very important, guys. When we're talking about well-being domains, the physical, the social, emotional, and social, because you're going to have complex clients like Jane come to you who have a lot of areas that she needs help in or she wants help in. And when clients like Jane come to you, sometimes as a support worker, you'll be like, where do I start? Which area do I start in? And you've got all these questions, she's in a wheelchair, she's got this, she's got that, she's got a physical problem, obviously, she's got she lost employment, social problems, break up with the boyfriend, she's got all these problems. So that's why having these well-being domains in the back of your mind, and going off that will go a long way in covering each aspect of her life and each area that she needs assistance in. And will then lead you in the right path in providing a holistic approach towards the client as well. So you know you're not going to be able to cover every single point, but you're going to come pretty close. Okay, so that's why it's very important to keep these 4 or 5 domains in your mind when working with clients. So look at the physical, the emotional, the social, and the cultural and spiritual. Always, okay. Try to touch on each aspect. Because that way we are then looking after the client holistically. All right, let's go with one more. All right. Darcy.
I had a couple of things written down, very similar to the first one. I had finding support devices or aids to support the independence, like if it's showering, for example, shower aids, or helping shoehorns, dressing aids, cooking, doing cooking classes to learn how to navigate around the kitchen again, and making suitable meals for yourself. I also had looking into wheelchair sport groups. There could be like not walking, but strolling groups because she was into hiking, so they could meet at a park and go rolling through the park together. Swimming groups or hydro groups, basketball, similar sport. Get a list, provide it to her, and see if she's interested in anything, and go from there.
Excellent. Very good. All right, let's go with Michelle. And Michelle, I'm going to ask the same question, but just say you're in Jane's position. You're in a wheelchair. You've suffered all this. You've got no job. You might have some support through Centrelink, maybe. You don't know. What would you want to explore as a support worker about Jane? What will come to your mind? What would you want to know first?
I guess I'd want to know a bit about what her working career was previously before the injury, and whether she has any, like she might have done office work or things like that, where she has the capacity to be able to still do work, or even volunteering and things like that.
What about in terms of, I don't want to give the answer, in terms of like support, like, well, what's that place, what's that organization?
Like there's TAC and everything. They might have support groups and that she could go to based on because it was a motor vehicle accident.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes, definitely. But I'm
so-
thinking more on the lines of NDIS.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Is
I
she a
mean,
client with
obviously,
NDIS? Is she a participant? Does she have access to housing or
yeah. I mean,
money for
it's not
housing?
really my aged care sort of thing, but I mean, I guess long term it'd be looking at the support services. Like I think was it Yasmin was mentioning all the things that you need in the home, like adjustments that might need to
Modifications,
be
yeah.
made,
Perfect.
and things like that, because she may live in a very, like she might be a hoarder or something, or have a very small layout of a
Yeah.
house and can't sort of mobilize with a wheelchair or access her own bathroom and stuff. So
Yeah,
looking
100%.
at the practicals of that side of thing
Yeah.
and
So,
funding that goes with it.
yeah. Nah, you're right. You're on the right track. Yeah. So I want you guys to think outside the box. I know these role plays have certain, they pretty much tell you what they want to speak about, but I also want you guys outside the assessments to think about how would you work with the client. What do you think are what information do you want to extract from the client? And I also want you guys to put yourselves in the client's position as well. What supports do I need? Um, so for me, if a client comes to me in a wheelchair who has a spinal injury, to me, the first thing I'm thinking is she an NDIS client? Is she a participant? Does she have funding for housing? Is she, for high physical support, which she would require? She doesn't, I know she's unemployed, so obviously she's going to need some more support around the area. So they're the questions I would be asking her around that. And also, if she doesn't have support, obviously finding her making referrals to see an NDIS coordinator or a caseworker, or finding an agency that specializes in NDIS support as well. So it's to get that ball rolling as well. Um, Let me go one more. I think it's Emily 7, is it? Just on mute. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. It's not Emily. Emily is my wife. It's Henrik.
Yeah.
Just because I just ran into the computer, couldn't log off.
Henry, what's your last name?
Reis, Reis. Henrik Reis.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, I was just thinking about Jane as the client, and I think I would try to bring up her strengths and see if I can sort of go more into the intellectual side and see if she's got some sort of talent or just trying to bring some purpose for her life through this new phase. So let's say that she likes telling stories, for instance, then that could be a good strategy. Or if she's got a nice voice, she could start exploring music or even podcasting, just sort of not trying to just get her back to the way she was before, but actually try to see a new start for her life, a new beginning.
Excellent.
That's what I would try to start with.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah. To motivate anyone, I think the best way is to identify their strengths, like you said, Henry. Identify their hobbies, their interests, celebrate that, validate their strengths, celebrate their strengths as well, and help them come up with goals and strategies around how they can reinvest or rediscover their strengths and their passion in life as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's excellent strategy. That's what we want to see in support workers. Well, that's what I would want to see from a support worker is someone who can identify strengths. So when I work with kids, most of you know I've said it 1,000 times. I work in youth justice in New South Wales, and I have these client service meetings with the young people in the correctional facility. And when I have the meeting with them, I start off with something that they've done good for the week. So it could be pro-social modeling, could be an achievement they've done in school, or could be a goal that they achieved, a casework goal achieved. So something that they did that was positive, and then I would focus on something that they need to improve on. So that's usually how I approach sessions with clients or interaction with clients is first talk about something positive, and then we start talking about the areas that they need help in or they need improvement in. So very good. Thank you, Henry. Okay. Let's go on now to the questions for the assessment. I think we've covered enough here. Who should I ask next? Okay. All right, here we are. Okay, we've covered building rapport. Let's talk a bit more about emotional well-being. Now, what emotional challenges is Jane currently experiencing? All right, and identify 2 strategies you would use to support her emotional well-being, including any referrals you might make. Now, I don't want to try not to use the same ones that we've spoken about, guys, like the last one Henry shared. Let's think about other things. So let's go with Amber Lee.
So, it looks as though she's expressed that she's feeling a lot of grief, as would be expected, going through such an accident like this, but also quite a range of emotions. So, like first and foremost would be giving her a safe space to express and feel those feelings. And I think getting to like connecting with that emotionally first in the beginning would be quite important. But strategies wise, through that is that I would probably look into referring or researching local like grief counselors
Yep.
or counseling and group therapy that is specifically around physically disabled people or those that have experienced grief in the way of like accidents and sudden grief like that, because it would connect her then socially, so meeting those social domains as well as helping with that emotional community and being able to process that. I would even look to see if there's any that are specifically run through the church because she speaks about coming from a Catholic background and feeling disconnected from her faith since her accident and being a person with a disability. So I know that a lot of churches do run support groups and things like that for certain for all sorts of things. So maybe even looking into that would be a strategy that I would implement. So then you're kind of ticking off a bunch of things.
Excellent. Yeah, you've covered a lot there.
As I do.
Yeah, very good. Very good. All right. Let's go with you know what, let's move on. I'm happy with that. Let's go on to we've spoken about strengths, cultural and spiritual well-being, we covered. Physical. All right, let's talk a little bit more about physical health support. Now, Jane is managing chronic pain and mobility issues, obviously. What would you include in her plan to promote physical well-being and encourage safe activity? Let's go with Mickey.
So now we're discussing about the physical health support, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, firstly, if he's managing chronic pain and mobility issues, so I would say probably I can refer her to, for example, like physio therapist or certain specialist, which is like, kind of specialized in in the area which she's currently suffering. And the second of all, I kind of like get the inspiration with your answer about the NDIS, because for the physical health support, let's say with the organization actually I'm currently worked in, they actually can have depend on the funding on different like individual situation. They do offer like a various service. For example, they offer the accompanying of the physiotherapy, and also they even can go to your house and kind of like um, monitoring you, like and try to give you counseling to rehearsal all the exercises on the like frequent basis. And also with her situation, probably she's not able to, for example, like do shopping or like a domestic assistance. The kind of service probably I can, based on like her situation, I can try to connect with the India is like the service provider. So whether we can send, like say, the DA assistance, help her with like her residential requirements like cleaning and everything. And also we can offer, for example, like respite services to give her company when it goes to entertainment like aspect. And the last is like I mentioned the first, yeah, I can refer her to the physiotherapist or the specialist who's like, kind of like very experienced in her problem. I guess that's what I come up with.
Excellent. Thank you, Mickey. All right, let me go with. Arya. So I want you to give me a goal that covers two well-being areas. So a goal that covers you coexist for two areas.
Do you mean the domains?
Yeah.
So I will go with physical and probably social connection,
Mm.
social domain. So one thing I would suggest would be, because as she is interested in sports and hiking, I would encourage her to join maybe any a disability sports, so she can directly get connected, or maybe as a support worker I can connect with them, so see what sports she can be active, or maybe start as a volunteer, so she can get in touch with people who are in who are in the same page. So that would be one thing that I can do. And with the physical domain, maybe I would get in touch with her physiotherapist, and see what is working and what's not working for her, because she still has a chronic pain.
Mm.
And maybe I can ask her physiotherapist to give some more, like the exercise with which she can go with do with her carer, that she has a carer at home, so if she can do similar things like the light stretches at home, and maybe suggest an occupational therapist for her
Mm-hmm.
to improve life skills. So that would encourage her to be more confident and empowered in her current stage of life. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Um, so how would you incorporate two well-being areas into one goal?
Mm, the social and the physical.
Any two well-being areas incorporated into one goal.
Um, or emotional and social, I think I can gel both of them together, because if she connects with a peer support group, or maybe a disability, just like I said, a disability sports group, she will be able to reconnect with them, so that she will be a bit more supported. uh,
Excellent.
yeah, so yeah, that would be one thing.
Perfect. What about you, Jackie? Can you give me a goal that will incorporate two well-being or domain areas, well-being domain?
Okay, well, I was gonna, yeah, try and mention about joining like a peer support group, but with adaptive sports. Not so much about the hiking, because I think, maybe doing something that is something that she used to do, maybe
Hmm.
looking at something new, like like more accessible with the wheelchair.
Yeah.
And then obviously the group you're in would make her feel more like not that she belongs, but around people that understand how, like, the difficulties she's facing as well. So it'd be like her social and physical, maybe her emotional as well, feeling like there's other people that understand how she's feeling.
Excellent. Yeah. Very good. All right. What about Deborah? Deborah, can so the building a rapport and trust part, I want to go back there. How would you, or what kind of disclaimer is in your mind to speak to a client? When you first meet a client, what kind of things are you going to say to the client?
Um, Start with acknowledging them and how good it is that they've actually come to seek your help for a start.
Mhm.
Explain policies and procedures surrounding their privacy and confidentiality. Explain their rights as far as the information that they give, the questions that they answer. It's completely up to them.
Excellent.
Mm,
That's
yeah,
good.
like yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Victoria. So we spoke about strengths. We covered social, emotional. Who are the key people you would involve in Jane's well-being support? Um, yeah, so who comes to mind? It could be professionals or anyone in their life. Who would you involve in their plan?
Um, so Jane has a sister. Sorry, I've just like lost the thing I was looking at. Is it Jane that has the sister? Or a close friend? But if not, she'd obviously get a NDIS support coordinator. So that's somebody
That's
to
someone, yeah.
collaborate with. I don't know if in this instance, would she have like a whole care team?
She possibly would, yeah. So you would explore
Yeah, so
she doesn't, and then yeah, obviously we would do something around that area.
yeah,
Yeah.
like even just I could create a care team.
Yeah. But if she did have one, yeah, that would be part of the well-being plan as well.
Yeah, and then have regular meetings.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how frequently, maybe monthly or something. And yeah, probably like physio. She'll probably, yeah, like I think it was somebody was saying about a grief counselor or a
Yes.
psychologist, like just
Yeah. Pretty much anyone that's supporting her, I would
yeah,
have. Yeah.
yeah.
Excellent. All right. All right. Let's go. Let's see what else we got here. Who's got hands up? Okay. 1 second, guys. All right. I'm gonna pick someone out. Darcy. All right. So Jane wants to return to work and update her contingency plan. So this is after the second meeting. So we've had the initial meeting with her. Now she's come up with a new goal that she wants to return back to work. How would you evaluate her current progress and revise her plan during a review meeting? What things would you do?
So you'd go through what she's been doing and the progress that she's already made in that way already.
Yep.
Then find out what she wanted to work towards. Even looking at volunteer work to ease back into things slowly, rather than jumping into part-time or full-time work, just to see if she gets the hangs of things and likes that role. Finding something completely different to what she was doing.
What about if she wants to do the job or return to the work that she was doing? What will come to your mind in terms of how we can make that happen? What steps do you think or strategies will come to mind?
Sorry, what was she doing? Just going back to that now.
Oh, what was she doing? Can anyone help with that? I just got a mental blank.
I don't think it actually
It
says.
doesn't say.
It
I don't
says
think
she's
it
a
says.
business owner, is
Yeah,
very
she's a business
successful.
owner.
Business owner, businesswoman, yeah. Yeah, so she's got a business. She wants to get back into it.
So,
yeah.
is the business closed? If it's not closed, she could be going back to work part-time, easing back into it like I just advised, or opening up the business. Depending what the business was, she could be working from home and seeking clients that way to ease back into it slowly.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. So yeah, pretty much we're doing what a career advisor would do, just gather as much information as we can about her education, her employment history, experience, just get a good picture around what she can do, and then just obviously provide help around that. There could be working from home jobs. It could be, like you said, volunteer work. Could be part-time work. It could be, a lot of workplaces are really good now where they've got support for people who have physical disabilities as well. So and there's a lot of agencies that find or help people find employment who do have physical disabilities or have disabilities in general as well. They can help you out with that as a support worker as well. So there's a lot of things that we can do around that area. So thank you, Darcy. Very well done. Um, all right. Feedback. All right, Jane says, all right. Last part, guys, and we're done. And I'm going to go with Michelle here. So, Michelle, Jane says she feels supported but would like more focus on independence towards the end of the evaluation. How can you gather feedback respectfully and adjust your plan accordingly?
You just have a chat with her, sort of thing, and ask her what things she's actually able to achieve
Yeah.
at home. Is she talking about physical independence, like showering and things like that, or
Yeah.
in
She's
general with
talking,
getting around?
yeah, just yeah, I would say physical independence
Yeah.
around things like showering, like you said,
Yeah, like ADLs and things
general,
like that.
yeah, just
So,
general things that she would do around the home and for herself. Yeah.
yeah. So just sort of ask her, just bring it into the conversation. What is it that she does at home, that she's capable of? Does she have support services that come in, like, home help or things like that?
Hmm.
It would also be like, it doesn't sort of mention anything about how she does get around besides the wheelchair. So, I mean, has she got a vehicle that's been modified or something that she can, travel in, or is she using
Yeah.
taxi services to get to where she needs to get to? You can get things like in Melbourne, there's the half price taxi card. So, you can get funding for that where you get up to about $3,000 a year that you can use, and you just pay half price on your transport. So, I
Hmm.
mean, but that would be traveling in a taxi that obviously accommodates the wheelchair. So, I mean, just sort of looking at that. I don't know if driving would be a possibility again. You can get modifications on cars, but she may not even want to drive based on the accident. So I mean,
Yeah.
just having a chat about all of that.
Yeah.
Sorry, my
So,
partner is snoring his head off in the background, so if anyone can hear that, I apologize.
nah, all good. Yeah, so yeah, really good work there. So I think the simplest way, and again around this sort of thing around independence, is just trying to find out or do a bit of a checklist of things that she can do already on.
Without making her feel inadequate or things like
Yeah,
that.
things like,
So
simple things like showering, brushing her teeth.
yeah, because you'd want to
Uh,
be empathetic, but you don't want to be sympathetic and patronizing. So,
right.
it's a very fine line to ask things like that, because it could be one question can be a massive trigger and off it would spiral and be not a
Yeah.
good outcome.
And there would be a lot of checklists, especially around clients around disability in community centers, especially. That will save you from asking these questions that might embarrass the client around things like, are you able to brush your teeth? Are you able to go to the toilet? Are you able to have a shower? Are you able to, do certain life skills with their current condition? Um, all right, I think that's it, guys. I think I've covered most of you. So, yeah, so we've covered each. I'm happy with that. So so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have to type up whole heap of assessment feedback forms for both assessments. Most of you will get an email from me. Some of you might not. But yeah, most of you will. All right. I'll hopefully get this done by tomorrow morning, and you'll get an email from me. Hopefully by tomorrow. Okay. Um, does anyone have any questions before we end the session for tonight?
Hi, yes, Simon. How do we, if you do the role play part, when we submit the paperwork, do we just ask you to mark it, or
No, so don't submit nothing yet until I give you assessment feedback.
Okay.
So once you get my assessment feedback, you just attach that to part B and C of the assessment, and that will go down as your recording. So that
Okay.
would, so when if another trainer or assessor marks it, they'll see that given you feedback, and they'll mark it as satisfactory.
Right.
Of
Okay.
course, of course, depending if you have attached the documentation as well, like the well-being plan
Yeah.
evaluation, that still needs to be completed. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. So look, I've got most of you down. Most whoever's participated during our session, and especially for the ones that I've ignored a lot, you guys have all passed. So don't stress too much. So yeah, most of you, I would say 99% of you will get an email from me tonight or tomorrow morning. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Hey, and can I just ask you, in relation to assessment three here with Jane, just one thing, if she's going to be getting back into some like physical activities that she used to like doing, and obviously she's in the wheelchair now and everything, we I guess we would have to discuss dignity of risk with her for some of these things that she would be taking part in.
Um, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it would be.
Like it
Yeah.
doesn't say in the case study that she definitely will be doing something, but if we were suggesting something like some of these adaptive sports,
Yeah.
people that like they can
You
bring you
would talk
surfing
about the
or
risks. Yeah, you would
yeah,
talk about the risks involved in certain sports
sure,
as well. Um, yeah, that's something you would touch on.
okay,
But dignity risk is more around, I guess, sports that might risk their physical health might fall into that. But when I think of dignity risk, I'm thinking about things like, alcohol, drugs, things that are detrimental to one's health.
right, okay,
Or, for young people going out during the night, really late with people they haven't met before or just recently met.
sure,
Things like that will fall under dignity risk. I guess for her situation, if she said, I want to do wheelchair rugby, and you don't know how far along she is with
yeah,
her recovery in terms of her physical ability, I guess that might fall under that. But that's probably a discussion you might need to have with the GP and all that, just to
yeah,
give
yeah,
her the all clear. Then if she does get the all clear, I don't know. I don't think that would fall under that dignity risk.
sure, okay,
Yeah.
all
But
right,
that's a
thanks for that.
very excellent point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent point. Thank you. All right. Any other questions, guys?
Yes, trying. I have a doubt regarding the role play.
Yeah.
Uh, is that what you're saying? Because I was a bit confused. So, if if you send the assessment, is that we don't have to do the role play again, or
Correct.
complete
Yeah.
the complete
So
the paperworks? Is it?
yeah, so if you get assessment feedback from me, like I sent you last time, Aria, the other day,
Yeah.
if you get that, you don't have to do them role plays.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you just attach that evidence into part B and C
Mm-hmm.
as if, and that will go down as the role play.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All good. All right. Any other questions, guys?
Yes, sorry, I missed the first part. So in regards, this part counts as the role play if we get the feedback and assessment.
I'm happy with your participation, Michelle. You're all good, yeah.
Okay, so I haven't sort of looked at what part B and C is. Is that like doing the filling in the sheet sort of thing with the
No,
what we
so
do?
part B and C is the role play. So part B is the role play, the initial meeting with the client, and
Yeah, and just writing down the
also
strategies and things like that into that sort of template again, was it?
yeah, and then there's a documentation that's involved. So you still need to do the
Gotcha.
documentation. You just don't need to do the role play if you receive my assessment feedback.
No worries. Thank you for that.
No, and that's including for part C as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
All good. All right. Any other questions, guys?
Have a good night, guys.
Yeah, who's going to win tonight?
The Blues. Go to Blues.
Didn't they lose last week by a whole lot?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
All right. Thank you. Have a good week.
Yeah.
All right.
Have a good week, everyone.